All right, well, we are at 10 o'clock on the dot, so we'll go ahead and get started today. So I guess the first question I have to always ask is, General Counsel, is there? Terrific. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I will have to go through my usual reading here, so bear with me. But good morning. I'm calling to order the April 2025 meeting of the IHCDA Board of Directors. We are meeting pursuant to this board's policy for participation by members of the IHCDA Board of Directors in board meetings by simultaneous electronic communication. This means that only 3 members must be physically present at the site of the meeting, and the remaining members may call in. There will be an audio feed for the general public so that members of the public can listen to the meeting, and there will be a link to the video recorded posted on IHCDA's website next month. At the time motions are being made, each board member makes the motion must state his or her first and last name for the record. The votes will then be tallied by roll call. I will now take a roll call of the board members to confirm members who are present and their location. Mark Pasquarello, designee for the State Public Finance Director Dan Hughey. I'm present and in the room. Greg Pauls, designee for Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith.
Present in the room.
Avi Reddy, designee for Treasurer of State Daniel Elliott.
Present and in the room.
Board member Chad Grewe. Looks like Chad is not present today. Board member Andy Place Sr.
Present remote.
Board member G. Michael Schupmeyer.
President in Indianapolis.
Board member Tom McGowan.
Present in the room.
We'll then move to the first item on the agenda, which will be the approval of the minutes from the March 27th, 2025 board meeting. First, I'll see if there's any conversation or any questions about the board meeting minutes. Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve.
I'll be ready. Motion to approve.
I have a first. Can I get a second?
Greg Pauls, second.
Okay.
Got a first and we have a second. So then we will go ahead and do roll call. So we will start with Greg Pauls.
Aye.
Abby.
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Mark Pasquarello votes aye. Passes with no dissent. Next, we will move to the next session, which is the Real Estate Department. I would like to welcome Samantha Spurgill, who will present the Home Buyer Award recommendation, Southeastern Indiana Community Preservation and Development Corporation. Good morning.
Can you hear me now? I'm here today to present a recommendation to the Southeastern Indiana Community Preservation and Development Corporation for a homebuyer unit under our Home Investment Partnerships Program homebuyer policy. They are a partnership with the Southeastern Regional Planning Commission. Through this application, they were certified as a community housing development organization, so they are a new CHODO for IHCDA. They cover 8 counties in southeastern Indiana, including 6 new counties who will now be served by a IHCDA certified CHODO. They applied for funding for the construction of 1 3-bedroom unit in Aurora, Indiana. This would be our first homebuyer unit within the city of Aurora. I am happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Board, do we have any questions for Samantha? Hearing none. Samantha, we are ready for your resolution.
Great, thank you so much. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve a homebuyer award in an amount not to exceed $209,194 and a home CHODO operating supplement award in the form of a grant not to exceed $50,000 to Southeastern Indiana Community Preservation and Development Corporation as recommended by staff.
Thank you, Samantha. So we now have a resolution on the floor. I'll entertain a motion.
Tom
Andy
McGowan,
Place, motion.
move for approval.
Andy Place, second.
We have a first and a second. So we will now do roll call again. Greg Pauls.
Aye.
Abby.
Aye.
Andy.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Mark votes yes. Or resolution passes, no dissent. We will, well, looks like Samantha, you'll be back again. So you'll now present additional CHDO operating supplement housing opportunities, incorporated, doing business as Co-Action Care.
Yes, thank you so much. This is a recommendation for additional CHOTO operating supplement as per our home rental policy. IHCDA allows certified CHOTOs to request additional $25,000 in CHOTO operating support if they meet several criteria. Those criteria include having drawn the entirety of their initial CHOTO award, having started construction on their project within the first 12 months of that award agreement, and having done a draw for their initial construction award. The original CHOTO operating supplement was tied to the MC East project, which is a 9-unit rehabilitation in Michigan City. Housing Opportunities DBA Co-Action Care has thus requested additional $25,000 in operating support. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Samantha?
I do like the requirement that they have to have started the draw process. Good guardrail for that.
Thank you. And they have drawn, it's a $1.5 million award. They've drawn around 600,000, so they are well underway in construction.
Any additional questions or comments? Okay, we have a resolution then?
Wonderful, thank you. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve additional home CHOTO operating supplement funding in the form of a grant, an amount not to exceed $25,000 to Housing Opportunities Incorporated, DBA Co-Action Care, as recommended by staff.
We have a motion on the floor.
Tom McGowan, move for approval.
Mike Schotmeyer, second.
We have a first and we have a second. We'll do a roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Abby?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Mark moves to approve. Again, approved with no dissent.
Great, thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much. We'll now welcome Megan Heber, who will now present the Creating Places Program funding and delegated authority.
Board. My name is Megan Heber, and I'm here to request some additional funding for the continuation of the Creating Places Placemaking Program for an additional program year. A little bit of background for those of you who aren't familiar with the program. Creating Places is an innovative public-private partnership that brings together communities to fundraise for place-based community projects across the state of Indiana. IHCDA partners with the crowdfunding platform Patronicity and accepts on a rolling basis applications from local units of government and nonprofit partners. And they choose to fundraise on the front end towards activations of space in their community. This could be a park, a playground, a mural, trails, maker spaces, plazas, sports courts, and many other gathering spaces. In 30 to 60 days, communities fundraise a goal of between $5,000 and $50,000 towards their project. And if they're successful, IHCDA rewards their community investment with a matching grant dollar for dollar. We're happy to report that since the program got started in 2016, 2017, we've supported over 300 projects across the state of Indiana. IHCDA has supplied $10.8 million in investment in these communities, and then communities have cumulatively raised $12.7 million on Patronicity's platform over the lifetime of the program so far. Staff are recommending the board approve an additional $1.5 million to continue the program, and also requesting delegated authority to continue to approve these campaigns as they meet programs. It's here for any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah. One question, in terms of the 300 projects, first of all, congratulations. That's amazing. And the 10 million that's out to these communities. In terms of the distribution of the 300 projects, have you been pleased with the geographic distribution of that, or is it very centralized in certain areas?
Oh, we're in 86% of our counties, so we're working towards 100%, of course. I think we have 1 or 2 live campaigns in new counties currently, which is very exciting. We try to be in a wide variety. We have a good amount of projects in the metro areas, but I think the success of this program is definitely in the rural communities all
great.
across the state. So
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments?
Is following on Tom's question, is there a map that can show that distribution on our
Yes.
website? I don't see it in our pack.
So we have the Patronicity website has shows all of our projects, and we can definitely get access to that. In years past, I've done a presentation. We decided not to do that this year, but following my next quest, I can definitely provide a map. It's definitely if you look on Google Maps, most of the state is covered, so it's really it's a good visual.
These matching programs are vital. I mean, Ready, regional cities, and what they do in the communities is they create collaboration, somewhat like Habitat does in their niche, where people are all working together towards a common cause. So there's a tertiary benefit of shoulder to shoulder and putting people together. So to the extent we can keep funding this program and grow it, I would encourage that.
And it looks like we've had good participation and we're working on almost 10 years. It's hard to believe that. I mean, I remember when it was first brought to the board. It doesn't seem that long ago, but 2016, 2017, we're coming up, unbelievably, 10 years. I mean, that's a great.
Definitely continues to grow, and there's a lot of excitement around it. That continues to be so. Yeah.
There's obviously demand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, without any further questions or comments, then I will open up to the resolution to be read.
Great. I have two resolutions, so I will start with the first one. Resolved that the board authorizes IHCDA staff to take all actions necessary to approve the allocation of the crowdfunding grants, provided that the board is informed of all crowdfunding awards on an annual.
That's one question. There's criteria being used, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
I'll make that motion. Mike
Okay.
Schottmeyer.
Tom McGowan, second.
We have a first and we have a second, and we'll do the roll call. Greg Pauls,
Aye.
Bobby Reddy,
Aye.
Andy Place Sr. Okay. Then we will move to Mike Schottmeyer,
Aye.
Tom McGowan,
Aye.
Mark Pasquarello votes aye. Just please note that Andy Place Sr. dropped off, but with that, we still have all ayes, no nays, so it passes without dissent. And then we're ready for the second one.
Thank you. Resolved that the board approves the allocation of development fund in the form of grants in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 as recommended by staff.
I'll pause for a second for any questions or comments. Hearing and seeing none, then I will take a motion for approval.
I'll be ready. Motion.
I have a first. Can I get a second?
Greg.
Second.
We have a first and we have a second. We'll move to roll call. Greg Pauls,
Aye.
Bobby Reddy.
Aye.
We have Andy back on, or is he still not up? So then we'll move to Mike Schottmeyer,
Aye.
Tom McGowan,
Aye.
Mark Pasquarello votes aye. All in favor, none, passes with no dissent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we will welcome Kristen Garvey, who will now present the fiscal year 2024 Continuum of Care IHCDA Funding Awards.
Members of the board, I'm here to present a request for approval of the fiscal year 2024 Continuum of Care, or COC, project awards. IHCDA is the collaborative applicant for the Indiana Balanced Estate Continuum of Care. In that role, we administered the fiscal year 2024 internal competition for new and renewal projects. Through the competition, these projects were evaluated on performance-based criteria that were approved by the IHCDA Board of Directors at the September 2024 board meeting as part of the competition process. Examples of those criteria included experience with federal funding, compliance and utilization of funds, data quality or capacity to collect data, and provided supportive services, including those that increase household benefit and employment income. After which the Indiana Balanced Estate COC board then approved and ranked the proposed list of projects based on those criteria, after which IHCDA submitted the final collaborative application to HUD on behalf of the Balanced Estate. In total, there were 75 new and renewal projects, including both direct HUD-funded projects and IHCDA administered projects. Today, I'm here to bring forth the allocations for those IHCDA administered projects that were approved by HUD in January of 2025. Our approved portfolio includes 41 projects across 31 HUD contracts, of which IHCDA grants out $10,588,888 for housing and services. A list of those subrecipient projects has been provided to you in Exhibit A. Along with that, we have provided a map showing the awarded agency locations in Exhibit B. At this time, I can answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none?
Thank you for the map. That's right.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none? Ready for the resolution?
All right, staff respectively request that the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve the FY 2024 COC funding awards operating from February 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2026 in the aggregate amount of $10,588,888 to the agency set forth in Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
We have a motion on the floor. Take a motion to approve.
Tom McGowan, move for approval.
We have a first. Can I get a second?
Mike Schotmeyer, second.
We have a first and second. Move to roll call. Greg Pauls.
Aye.
Bobby Ready.
Aye.
Like Andy is not back yet, so we'll Mike Schotmeyer.
Aye.
Tom McGowan.
Aye.
Mark Pasquarello votes aye. All yeas. Passes no dissent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We will now move to the finance section. So I will be welcoming Richard Harcourt, who will now present the Arbors of Southtown Square bond recommendation.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
I'm here to seek approval of tax-exempt issuance, non-recourse, for the Arbors of Southtown Square Apartments project located in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So this is a project that you all approved in our December 2024 board meeting in the 2025 AB round. Again, located in Fort Wayne. It's a rehab project, age restricted, requesting, 60% AMI or less, requesting $19,852,727 of non-recourse tax-exempt debt issuance.
Open it up for any questions or comments.
So real quickly, Richard, so what's the primary change from what you approved in December to where we are today?
Sure, I follow your question, Tom.
Well, I thought you said that we had previously approved.
You've approved the project. This is just a request.
Okay,
to
so
approve.
but
no
so
change.
nothing changed from the original approval. That was my
No,
question.
no, you're correct. Nothing's
Okay.
changed. This is
All right.
just request to issue
This is
tax.
just the issuance.
Yep.
Associated with the approval.
Put our
Project,
name on it as the issue.
size, costs, all the same.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted that point of clarification. Thank
Yeah,
you.
they bring it to us because we're the conduit.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
So-
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, take the resolution.
Resolved that the board approve the Series 2025A and Series 2025B multifamily housing revenue notes, parentheses, Arbors of Southtown Square Apartments project, close parentheses, pursuant to the resolution attached hereto as Exhibit A as recommended by staff.
I have a motion on the floor.
Move for approval, Mike Schotmeyer.
I have a first.
I'll be ready. Second.
I have a first and we have a second. Move to roll call. Greg Pauls.
Aye.
Bobby Ready.
Aye.
Mike Schotmeyer.
Aye.
Tom McGowan.
Aye.
Mark Pasquarello votes aye, and it passes unanimously.
Thank you. Board.
Thank you, Richard. I will now welcome Brennan Gerard. I guess myself, but I think that I'm already here. And then Emily with Forvis, who will now present the 2024 IHCDA external audit.
Thank you much. Morning, Board. I'm here today to present the completed 2024 financial statement audit and single audit for your consideration and approval. As we did last year, IHCDA engaged Forvis Mazars to perform the audits. Emily Ballbeck, a director at Forvis, will be speaking to the process and its outcome. And then Mark will represent the audit committee with some additional comments. After that, we will field any questions that the board may have. Mark will then present the resolution to the board. Before I hand this off to Emily, I would like to thank Forvis for their diligence and counsel during the year. They do a very thorough job. I would also like to thank the audit committee for their time in meeting and thoughtful questions. I would also like to thank the IHCDA accounting staff. I'm very blessed to lead such a diligent and conscientious group of public servants. At this time, I will hand it off to Emily.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. As Brennan mentioned, my name is Emily Ballbach, and I'm a director with Forvis Mazars. We also have Rick Wickren here as well, but he's in the audience, so you'll just be listening to me speak today. But we're going to just do a high-level kind of presentation of the audit results. We went in detail a couple weeks ago during the audit committee, and after that audit committee meeting, we were able to issue all of the deliverables. As a reminder, you guys are subject to a financial statement audit. So that is one of the deliverables that was issued, as well as an audit of your federal expenditures, or a single audit, as we like to call it. And then the last deliverable is just our required communication, which kind of goes over the results of the audit process. So if we dive into the results for 2024, I am happy to report that the opinion over the financial statements, as well as the opinion on compliance for your major federal program awards, were both unmodified or clean, which is what you should expect to see and what you want to see in your audit results. So again, really good results there on your audit opinions. If we look at government auditing standards, which you guys are subject to, there were no reportable findings that we had to include in your report, as well as no compliance findings as well. So very clean there as well. We look at uniform guidance, which is going to be your audit of your federal expenditures. We had no reportable findings there as it relates to internal controls. We did have one compliance finding, which we'll touch on here in a little bit. But again, really no material reportable findings that are included within the audit results. If we look at the audit adjustments for 2024, we did not have any proposed audit adjustments that were recorded as a part of our process. We did have one past adjustment, and this is really just due to the fact that the adjustment was above our lowest level of materiality, but was not overall significant to IHCDA. So is not reflected within your financial statements, but is included in a past adjustment summary on the back of your required communication. This related to just some interfund activity that should have been eliminated in the interfund process, but was not. So again, not overall significant to your financial statement, so is not reflected in there, but is included on a summary at the back of your required communication. When we look at the financial statement audit, since we did not have any audit adjustments and no significant other internal control matters, we had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that were required to be reported. That past adjustment that we talked about was considered just a verbal deficiency, so you will not see that in writing within the required communication. And then we did have one period of performance item within the single audit testing where some funds around $1,400 was used too early before that period of availability on the fund. So again, a very small amount, but both of those are not included as writing because again, they're not overall significant to IHCDA and are just included as verbal matters. We have a couple just high-level financial highlights here that we just wanted to point out if you guys were to look at your financial statements for this year. So if we're looking at the assets and deferred outflows of resources, you'll see your biggest makeup of that is going to be your investments held against bonds. And again, that's going to have increased around $538 million from the previous year, which is really going to be due to 4 bond issuances during 2024, which resulted in around $731 million of new bonds. The other one that I maybe point your attention to is going to be the one right next to the right of the investments held against bonds, your accounts and loans receivable. Again, it doesn't look like much of an increase there just due to the overall size of investments held against bonds, but that did increase around $30 million and is due to the down payment assistant loans, which increased $30 million to account for the overall $36 million increase in that line item. On the liability side, you'll see a similar trend here where really the majority of your liabilities is going to be sitting in that bonds and notes payable line. Again, you'll see a similar increase here as with cash and investments held against bonds. It increased around $660 million due to those new bond issuances during 2024. And then the other item I want to highlight here is going to be the third bar from the left, that unearned revenue. You will see that that balance did decrease around $81 million, and that's just due to the IERA usage of those funds. So as that program continued to wind down, you were using those funds during the year, decreasing that unearned revenue balance. On this slide here, you'll just see the breakout of your net position. That unrestricted bucket is going to be the largest there, that dark blue. For this year, it made up 63% of your total net position compared to 66% in the previous year. The restricted bucket, the lighter blue, makes up 37% of your total net position compared to 34%. So pretty consistent, just a 3% change between the two year over year. The last two slides I have for financial highlights are going to look at first revenue. Again, that program income is going to make up the majority of your income that you're receiving during the year. That did decrease around $101 million due to the decline in some programs, the IERA, HAF, LIHEAP, as those programs continued to wind down during 2024. You'll see a similar trend here as well as expenses. Those also decreased around $87 million due to those same programs winding down. And then the last slide I have here is just the results of your single audit. So again, that's going to be your audit of your federal expenditures. The authority was considered a low risk auditee this year, and you guys did have 6 major programs that were tested. That accounted for around $251 million of the total expenditures, which were $621 million of federal expenditures during the year. So around 40% of the total CFO was subject to our audit procedures in the current year. As I mentioned earlier, we did have one compliance finding related to the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. This related to an overpayment that was identified of $350. However, the standards required that we are required to project that over the sample. And so when we did that, we tested a sample of 40 items and we projected that $350 error. It was above that $25,000 threshold. And anytime we have something above estimated question cost, above that $25,000 threshold, we are required to include that within our single audit report. So again, overall, the error amount was very, very small, but because that projection went slightly over that $25,000, we were required to include it as a compliance finding in that single audit report. But again, due to it not being super significant, we did not have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies over compliance. So with that, that's all we had today to go over a discussion. Happy to answer any questions that anyone has, but again, just really want to highlight the appreciation that we have for Brennan, Rich, and their team, and all the individuals that help us in the audit process. It's a lot of work to go through this audit every year, as well as have those 6 major programs that are selected for your federal funds. So we really appreciate all of IHCDA's help in the audit process. They're always so well prepared for us and ready when we arrive. So we really appreciate that. So.
Thank you. So I'll open it up, I think, first for any questions.
So on Appendix B, MLA, the very last page of what I have in paper here, there's a comment about misstatements on current assets, current liabilities that are reflected. They're fairly large number, 2 million and 4 million. Do those net out, or can you explain that to us, please?
Yep. So that was the past adjustment that I was talking about within the deliverables. So while it is kind of 2 million, 4 million, when we look at your total assets. It's a very small percentage of your total assets. And so that adjustment was above our lowest level of materiality, but after discussions with the finance team, we opted to not record that adjustment within the financial statements, and it's just reflected in that summary. It really just relates to the elimination of interfund activity. So that activity should have been eliminated between the general fund and the federal program fund, but was not when it was recorded. So it resulted in it being double counted within the financial statements. So that past adjustment is really just summarizing the impact if you were to remove that from your financial statements, what impact those lines would have if you were removing that adjustment. And I think maybe on the back side of that, I can't remember if it's on the back side of that page, it might show the percentage impact
Don't think so.
of, they're not on, okay.
But it shows the percentage impact is well under 1%.
Yes, it's very, very, very small. Overall, when you look at the full financials of IHCDA, it's under that 1% impact.
Bring it up because, someone can read this and I want to explain it. But as I look at it, it's essentially a wash.
Yes.
Based on what you said is the inter-year play and when you're dealing with some degree, $2 billion.
Yes.
They check there,
Yeah.
but it's there and it's on the last page and I thought we better explain it on the record.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing is when you look at the type of error as well, there was not an error, at least from my perspective. I won't, but where you thought it was wrong.
No, she really explained that.
Yeah. And so at the point, you're like, okay, I understand what the error was. And so at that point, it's like, okay, we just have to move on from it.
Funds didn't go to the wrong spot.
Exactly.
And it washes out.
Correct.
As it occurs with all of us as we balance our accounts.
That's the best way to put it. Money wasn't leaving the accounts and going in somewhere.
It was worth the discussion.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay, I will
think
just.
a quick comment.
Sure.
Treasurer's office, we get audits like this, audit this clean on something this large, we'd be quite thrilled. And that's a value statement on just the amount of money that's moving through here. Great job to the
$7
team.
billion
Yeah.
Yes.
This is pretty great. So
Yeah.
good
I mean, we
job to
talked
the-
about a couple of those things, but they're really, when you look at the overall size of the entity, they're really pretty minor in the grand scheme of things and not something that is indicative of any major issue.
Yeah,
in
and
the
I mean,
authority.
it's hard, like you said, like these little things. It's a lot of times it's just mislabels that happen or whatever. So this is a great job to the team.
Davi's comment, that's Mark and I have talked about this before. That's my viewpoint as the independent board member, one of the independents here. The other is we see, and you didn't bring that up, which you probably can't in an audit, but there are 50 other states or 49 or whatever that receive these funds. And we're at the highest end of states, Hoosier values of taking care of these funds that are, in many cases, come from the federal government to us. We really, I remember, probably not Emily at Forvis to work at, but we've had that data before us before that we're well recognized by our friends in Washington for doing the right thing.
Yeah, and also within a lot of the programs, I remember them talking about like Section 8, for example, that we were being rewarded that as we went through that, we were getting sometimes more allocations or we're the highest performing, we're at 98% when everybody else was far below that, besides a couple other states that were hidden with us. So not only are we doing well at the audit, but we're within those programs, we're excelling too with the federal government, which allows funds
I
coming.
think a nice press release on being we're saying here would be beneficial at some point.
Yeah. I agree. It's always good to celebrate good news, especially when you're a lot of times in your government, the bad news sometimes press, but I will open it up to make a couple comments here from being on the audit committee. But before I do, Tom, I want to give, again, independent board members, I think, are key to IHCDA's success. And so I would like to give you the floor.
Yeah, my first comment was articulated by Abby, and based upon the size of the balance sheet and at a public company, it's not easy as money flows through. And I share your comments and all of yours that was very impressed once again with staff, and we appreciate obviously what your team has done as well. And confidence that you give all of us. So I felt overall that we had a very clean process and one that gave us confidence in terms of the financial sheet as a whole, and that's what you want as an independent audit committee. Thank you.
I'm not going to add too much because I think it's already been said, but great work to the team. And I know that whenever I talk to the finance team about and give them the praise, I normally get a kickback real quickly about that. It's a whole IHCDA kind of culture to keep that clean. And so that's how that information gets to you so quickly and so cleanly. And so I think the whole staff needs to be congratulated for that as well, because I feel at that point, it's not just two people working on that and making that happen. That's an entire culture. And it's been year after year. This isn't like it's been a mess and then we
No.
finally got to one clean year. I mean, it's just year after year, we're getting these great results. And so I know I appreciate with how large it is. It helps me sleep at night and when we keep coming back with clean audits. So I appreciate all the hard work and I appreciate the hard work of four of us.
I would be remiss if I didn't thank the chair of the audit committee. Mark puts in a lot of time and has always done such a great job for this board, this entity. So Mark, thanks for all your time on this.
My pleasure.
And you
And
commended Forbes there, but I would echo, you know, they're a great partner with us. Sometimes these don't get delivered on time. They've done a great job. And I go back to the Georgia S. Olive days and they audit our firm. We've done 40 years. So
Yeah.
glad to see them here. So.
well, terrific. Well, I think it's working as it should. Like I said, I appreciate the independent board comments because again, I think that's important and imperative just to make sure we always have the best practices going forward because I'm stuck in our government bubble and it's good to have that expertise there. I am going to open up one last time for any questions or comments. If hearing none, then as Brennan said, I will read the resolution. We have two of them, but that will be counted as a move to approve. So at that point, we'll just need a second, then we'll go through the roll call. So resolved that the board approved the December 31st, 2024 IHCDA financial statements and independent auditors report attached hereto as Exhibit A as recommended by the audit committee and staff. And so that's the first, so I'm looking for a second.
Tom McGowan, second.
We'll go through roll call. Greg Pauls,
Aye.
Avi Reddy,
Aye.
Andy Place, Senior,
Aye.
Mike Schottmeyer,
I
Tom McGowan,
Aye.
Mark Pasquarello votes aye, passes unanimously. The second resolution will be resolved that the board approves the December 31st, 2024 IHCDA schedule of expenditures of federal awards and independent auditors report attached hereto as Exhibit B as recommended by the audit committee and staff. I'll take a second.
Mike Schotmeyer, second.
We'll go through roll call. Greg Pauls,
Aye.
Avi Reddy,
Aye.
Andy Place Senior,
Aye.
Mike Schottmeyer,
I
Tom McGowan,
Aye.
Mark Pasquarello, aye, passes unanimously. And with that, I believe Matt is on out of town. So there will be no IHCA update this month, but we will look forward to meeting next month. Is there any other business in front of the board?
Sir.
Hearing none, then this meeting is adjourned at 10:38.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
can sign it live.